Amazing. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's session of the Rise Entrepreneurship Insights. This event was made possible through the generous support of the RBC Foundation. The lands that are now Toronto, also known as Toronto, are the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, Toronto is still the home of many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. The TWM is grateful to live and work with them and with newcomers on this territory. Living on this territory makes people in Toronto treaty peoples, including those who come as settlers or immigrants of this generation or earlier generations, including those brought involuntarily as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. Now I'm going to pass it over to Laurie Smith, CEO of Rise, to give the opening remarks. Laurie.
Hello, everyone, and I am so sorry to be on the phone and not on the screen. I would love to be participating, but technology is apparently not my friend in the last 10 minutes that I've been trying to join the meeting. So my sincere apologies. I want to thank everyone for being with us today. And I'm going to keep my remarks extremely brief because it's actually our panelists who are the main event. I do, though, want to also recognize RBC Foundation for helping make today's event possible, as well as the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. Both RBC and MCCSS have been extremely loyal supporters of RISE for many years, and we're very grateful for their commitment. As you know, today's event is focused on celebrating the experience of Black entrepreneurs. And I'm really excited about the conversation that will unfold. 2 years ago, entrepreneurs across the country really started to feel the impact of COVID-19 on their businesses. And in particular, we all know that the pandemic laid bare and in many cases deepened the great inequalities in Canadian society. Last year, RISE launched a new strategic plan. The plan commits to increasing our efforts to serve individuals from vulnerable and underserved populations across Canada in order to provide the lending, training, and mentorship resources needed to help people change their lives through financial independence and business ownership. And the Entrepreneurship Insights event today is really part of that commitment. We're thrilled to have an amazing panel. Two of whom are RISE training program graduates. And over the next 45 minutes or so, they'll share their diverse experience with us as entrepreneurs, their work supporting Black-owned businesses. And I'm really excited to learn from them and want to thank each of them very, very much for being with us today. So I can't see anybody, so I will now pass the phone/screen back to all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Good afternoon, and thank you again for tuning into today's session of the RISE Entrepreneurship Insights, celebrating the experience of Black entrepreneurs. I am your host and moderator, Delissa Thomas, and I will be facilitating today's session. A little bit about me. I am a creative resource manager at Tank Gray and have been working in the advertising industry for over 13 years. The goal for our next hour will be to highlight the perspectives and lived experiences of other entrepreneurs. On the panel today, we are joined by Stephanie Small, Kelly Fogain, Althea Knight, and Esmeralda. Welcome and thank you for joining. So wanted to start things off by having each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves. Let's start with you, Esmeralda.
Cool. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. So for me personally, I actually was in the RISE program. Previously, I know it was called like RISE Asset Development, and it's changed now to RISE Help. But I was a part of the program, I believe, in like 2018-ish, I think the summer. And that time, I was pretty much trying to figure out how I can, be an artist and also an entrepreneur at the same time, and taking my music and my art more so into the realm of business. So when I actually stumbled upon the RISE program, it really interested me because it would have given me the opportunity to develop a plan, be able to, put together like different market research and things like that that could help me, have a proper foundation as an independent artist. So currently, what I've been doing since then is various ventures that have like led to a lot of, successful opportunities. So I'm currently, my main platform where like I promote most of my music is on TikTok. And over the pandemic, I was pretty much utilizing that platform as an opportunity to promote my music. So now I have like a substantial following. So I have about 124,000 followers on TikTok. And in addition to that, I also have had like really cool opportunities, including having my music synced in the premiere episode of Gossip Girl, and working with a variety of artists, and dropping my debut album that I just dropped about a month or two ago. So far things are going pretty good, and I'm really excited to be able to share my experience today.
Amazing. And now we're just going to go to Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Small. I am the founder and director of Black Taxi at the Taxi Toronto office. So Taxi is an advertising agency here in Toronto. We have 4 locations: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and in New York. We're part of a larger global network, as most advertising agencies are. And Black Taxi is a creative and strategic division that I created. It launched in 2020 as a program. And so our primary focus is to attract, hire, and retain Black talent in the advertising industry. In addition to that, we also do consultancy services for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And my favorite personal part is we offer advertising services to small to medium-sized Black businesses and organizations, no matter where you are. I know we're based in Toronto, but if you have something in Jersey or you have something in Delaware, please holler at your girl, because we do take US dollars. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Kelly?
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me on this panel. Kelly de Fogain Taylor, and I am the founder and executive director of Afropolitan Canada. We're based here in Toronto. Our organization serves Black folks geared towards women here in Ontario who want to advance in their career and as well in their entrepreneurial journey. So we do provide workshops from financial literacy to introduction to trades. Our main goal here is to really disrupt some of the narratives and then kind of show the big picture of what will be needed in the next 20 to 50 years so that women and other people can have, a sense of like, where can I lead my business so that it can thrive in the next 20 to 50 years, for instance. So that's what we do. We also do have an annual national event, geared towards Black women, which is the Women of Diversity Summit and Awards, which is an event that celebrates, Black women and women of color who are breaking barriers, who are thriving in their career, their journey. And that event usually takes place around International Women's Day. This year has been postponed though because of COVID, and then we're really trying to have it as an in-person event. So in terms of my background, before being full-time here at Afropolitan, I used to work for the environmental non-for-profit sector for 8 years. Then I worked for the government for 5 years, where I worked for different ministries. And so now I'm technically on parental leave, but I have no intention of going back to in the government. I just really want to focus on, Afropolitan, because I think the mission is bigger than, what personally I was doing in my previous career. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and then to have this discussion with these lovely human beings. So yeah.
Amazing. And I know Althea was having technical issues, and I'm not sure if this black box is her, but we can continue until she pops in. But we are going to get right into it. So we're going to start with you, Stephanie. I know you gave us such an in-depth intro, but I think what I want to know, and I think what the audience wants to know, is how was Black Taxi created?
Oh, I mean, we only have an hour. So.
Yeah, but but like, it's such a beautiful thing, and I think you have to have a lot of support. So just tell us what that journey was like.
All right. So Black Taxi was created. I actually came up with it just after the murder of George Floyd. I mean, as we all know in the Black community, I don't know if it was because we were in a pandemic at the time and it was different, whereas like before, when a murder had happened, we were within 6 feet of each other. So we could be communal and we can talk to each other about it and we would mourn together. And I just felt that being at home when that murder happened and still being behind a screen and trying to do the work and not having anyone that you could just like hug and mourn that murder just hit me differently. And so I just said to myself, I need to do something, and I don't want to do what I see everybody else doing or a lot of people doing, which was making a one-time donation to Black Lives Matter, no matter where it was, or doing a one-time partnership with a Black organization and then never talking about it again until the next murder. I wanted to create something that had sustainability and longevity. And so after I just flippantly messaged my CEO. I don't know who told me that I could just email the CEO, but I did. And much to my surprise, he was like, yeah, what do you want to do? He has been my number one supporter along my journey in this way. And it started as a program. I met with the HR director. We revamped the hiring factors. We rewrote job descriptions. The whole human resources department went through different training, implicit, explicit, unconscious bias training. They brought in programs to root out the job descriptions for unconscious bias. And then we tackled the internships. And historically in most agencies, what a lot of people don't know is that yes, it's illegal to not pay someone for an internship, but what's not illegal is to bring someone in for an internship and give them a one-time sum. Or if the program they're going to school for says you cannot pay them, but you can give them a school credit, they're still allowed to be an intern. So they're still not technically being paid. They're just getting a school credit. What I said when I decided to revamp the internships was that the last thing I was going to do, more importantly, what I was not going to do, was ask Black people to come in and work for free, because we all know what that is. We had 400 years of that. And so I said, I'm happy to bring people. Obviously, I want to give opportunity and access, but I'm not asking people to come and work for free. We might as well just not do it. If that's going to be what breaks or makes this program, then I'm not doing it. And my CEO just said, leave it with me. So we pay our interns like in dollars. We don't care if your school's going to give you a credit. We pay you the same way that I get paid. You get a full-time salary, and it's prorated for the time that you're with us. And our internships are traditionally 3 to 4 months. So you're going to get a paycheck, just the same way I get a paycheck, a livable wage. We pay between minimum wage to just under entry level, because also the beauty of the program is I don't want to just send you out into the advertising world. I bring you here and I teach you all the skills and I make you a wonderful talent. And then I send you out. I want to hire you. I've gotten to know you over 3 or 4 months. So we want to give room for them to negotiate. We teach you how to negotiate. Ask for what you're worth. We teach you that. And then if we can't find you a role within Taxi walls, we definitely help you find a role. I'm happy to report, out of the 9 interns that we've had over the last couple of years, we've employed 8 of them within Taxi or within the greater WPP network. The one decided to do freelance. Love him, support him, still talk to him. But 8 of those 9 interns we brought out, they are working in full-time positions right now within the advertising industry. And so we did that and we chugged along. And, you know, to be fair, when we started it, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this. There's no precedent for this. There's nobody at the time doing what we had set out to do. And so we chugged along, and, you know, I was like Delissa, I was a creative resource manager, and I was also an EA, and I was also doing award show submissions, but I was also doing Black Taxi. And so it got to the point where I said, you know, if I'm really going to make systemic change across the industry, then this needs to be my full-time focus. And so once again, I decided to take it upon myself. I wrote my own job description. I wrote a business plan, and I went to my CEO and said, can I do this? I need to do this. I need to add consultancy. I need to add advertising services, and I want to be the director. And once again, he said, yes, go ahead. This has been wonderful. Love what you do. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, how Black Taxi was created. And I mean, we're still evolving. Every day I learn something new. Every day I look at it and I'm like, I don't really like how we did this. Let's try it differently. Because like I said, there's no precedent for this. You know, I'm learning as I go along and improving as I go along. But the main point is that we started it, just like you, wonderful women. You started doing something, and here you are.
And I think that is beautiful to have the support that you had and still continue to have from your CEO. And I think that is so important in creating what we want to have in the Black community. And I think that is amazing. We're going to just go straight to Althea. Not to worry, completely understand. If you can give us a little bit of intro about yourself, that'll be amazing.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so sorry, technical issues. So happy to be here. Right, my name is Althea, and I am the founder of the Creative Art of Being. I am an artist, an educator, an environmentalist, and I design and deliver programming. I think the businesses that I've been entrepreneurial since I was a little kid, from putting up posters for babysitting, selling Avon, and then sort of migrating into creating programs. Whenever I felt there was something missing, then I would try to put something forward or create something that could help people along their journeys. My own healing journey has been a spiritual one, a mental health one, learning about surviving as a marginalized person in a system that isn't always accessible or easy or without trauma for a lot of folks. So whatever I've learned on my own personal healing journey, then I want to share with others. So I've done programs, walking groups, because I love being outside and I believe in the power of nature. I've done meditation groups that help me deal with anxiety, mental health issues. I then facilitated them. Anything that I would learn, I would incorporate in what I wanted to deliver to folks. And I'm sorry that I've missed what the other folks have said, the other women have said here. But I think one of the things that I never really thought, I thought about people, I thought about the planet, I thought about impact, I never thought about profit. And also what was sustainable for my own well-being, but also for the programs that I was delivering, sometimes in conjunctions with organizations or businesses or just other concerned folks. And that's what RISE helped me to do, was to begin to think about how can I deliver something that is useful for community, also useful for me, and that can go for the long haul. And how can I cultivate and develop a language and an understanding around something that I wasn't really for before, because I felt like I associated business with corporate greed. So now there's been a shift and a greater understanding in that, hey, this can help me one, to live a life that's maybe more stable with less ups and downs, and two, that I can also share with others. Okay, I hope that's useful.
That is amazing. That's great. Thank you. Esmeralda, so as an artist slash entrepreneur, how did the pandemic change the way you work? I know you mentioned TikTok. So like take us through that journey of, 2020 and, what went through your mind on like how, like in the artistry, like how did you promote your work and to be where you are today?
Definitely. So for me, as an artist, so as I mentioned earlier, I started,
Mm-hmm.
really taking my music seriously and like doing what I could to like, create music videos, like release songs on Spotify and try to really build a presence online, probably back in
Mm-hmm.
like 2017. So I'd been doing that with a little bit of, support and like, different like platforms, like sharing my music on like, Instagram and other places. But when the pandemic hit, and for me personally, I also work a 9 to 5. So I do like a lot of diversity and inclusion and like anti-racism work like in the public sector. So that's something like I've been doing for a while, for probably the past like 5 years and a little bit over that. And it was a little bit hard for me to like try to balance going all out for my music and working, including like the commuting time and all of that. So when the pandemic hit, it gave me an opportunity to shift my time and kind of utilize the additional time that I had, being able to fully like work from home. And in addition to that, being able to, actually take that time to assess what I was doing as an artist and an entrepreneur, and take that, that kind of assessment and apply it to somewhere where things would work. So during the pandemic, I started like hearing a lot about like TikTok and a lot of artists using that platform. So what I had done was just looked at, the music I had and ways where I could actually use the platform TikTok to promote my music. And what I had started doing is coming up with really like short form content that I could share, where I would tell my story as an artist, and that would include, the journey and the ups and downs. So one of the videos I had actually released, where I was kind of like touching more into like vulnerability to, showcase like who I am as a person, was sharing my story about like some of the, the mishaps that had happened for me as an independent rapper and an entrepreneur as well. So I had told a story about, paying like $10,000 that I had accessed from a grant to have my music posted on World Star Hip Hop. So they posted it on World Star Hip Hop, but literally all that happened was like trolls and scammers in my DMs literally saying, hey, send me this, send me that. And trolls like pretty much like just coming at me for my style of music and things like that. And it kind of like, gave me like tough skin. And I had like similar experiences even with my music being posted on the platform Six Buzz as well, and a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
different social media platforms. And that kind of made it where I really needed to, identify like an audience that would
Mm-hmm.
appreciate my unique style of music. And that's where TikTok came in. So just being consistent and posting on TikTok led to me being able to like grow my following. From the immediate time that I started on TikTok, I literally had maybe less than maybe 3,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And then afterwards, just being consistent over a couple of months, now I'm currently at 40,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And with my songs, like basically total songs, almost at 3 million streams. And for me as an independent artist with like no team, me just hustling it out and doing it on my own has really been like something that I'm extremely proud of, and has given me the motivation to continue and to, get to that point where I could actually, be able to hopefully quit my 9 to 5 and put all my energy towards that. And in addition to that, some of the things that I've learned just through the promotion process is it's really important to be yourself and use what you have at your disposal. So initially, when I would be promoting my music and trying to, like center the different like content I was creating, a lot of times I felt compelled to, follow things that were trending. But I realized that when I was just specifically honing into the things that my audience specifically liked, and also focusing more on things that fit me and my brand as an artist, that's when I started seeing a lot of more support and, success.
Ah, amazing. Love to hear it. Love it. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to piggyback off of Steph and Esmeralda. And Steph talked about George Floyd, and Esmeralda talked about funding. And this is where I'm crafting your question, Kelly. So, after George Floyd, there's been a lot of opportunities for Black entrepreneurs to get access to funding, including the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund that was announced back in 2020 by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, where Black entrepreneurs starting businesses or operating small businesses can apply for funding. There's been concerns, however, about how arduous it has been to gain access to funding due to unclear payment terms and invasive questions. Do you have any insights on where entrepreneurs should start? And are there any red flags they should consider when it comes to applying for funding?
Well, I think we can all agree that the creation of the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund was welcome news in our community. Unfortunately, it was more of a reactive action than a proactive one, because for years, the Black community across Canada, Black communities across Canada have been super vocal about the fact that there were inequalities in accessing funding resources. And again, I think this news was also in, in the middle of the Black Lives movement, the Black Lives Matter movement following the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and then Ahmaud Arbery. So, I think there was all of that just led to that kind of reactive action. So with that regard, I think, having more of those, having that funding was definitely something that we were just like, finally something to support our Black businesses here. I know that there were concerns about the process of even getting in the application, and then as well, those invasive questions. And then hopefully, and I know that these concerns have been addressed, because it was so flagrant in the media that they had to address these concerns. And at the core of it, frankly, I think it's a matter of working with communities, especially the communities, the non-for-profit that serve Black, entrepreneurs. I think that there needed to be more consultations just to make sure that these fund was available, and then for everybody. And so like we or some of the other organizations could have actually they could have seen those red flags and then say those questions really shouldn't be there, especially with people working in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in HR. So I think there needed to be more consultation before and during the designing of the program, and then even testing it before launching. I think in terms of insight on where entrepreneurs should start, I think my number one piece of advice, usually, especially in the work that we do, is to teach our folks to invest in that, first in their, in their product or service. Any funder will want to see that there is a buy-in from your community, from your family, or from yourself. If you don't invest first in what you have created, why will I invest in that? So I think that's the first thing that folks should do. It's like, you're the number one fan of of your product. And then, you know, there are so many opportunities now, I guess, because of, you know, the current climate we are in, to participate in community level competitions, challenge, you know, those like pitch to get like a $10,000 or $5,000 to invest. And I'm usually very blank. I think that I'm usually very straight. I don't really sugarcoat things, but what I will say is that we are in a very, we're at crossroad, and I think folks should probably use the opportunity that is presented now with all the loans and programs that are available, because they're not going to be here forever, and to really get all the resources they need right now, so that they can create that kind of I should say longevity for their business for the next 5-10 years, so that they eventually can be self-sufficient. That's the what I could say. The second insight is to not put all your eggs in one basket. I think that we have access to so many different loan programs for Black entrepreneurs that if one doesn't work, then there's so many others. Like besides the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund that was created by FACE with the government of Canada, you have BDC. BDC is really doing active work right now at reaching Black folks, Black entrepreneurs. Like even with, we're currently working with BDC. They really want to put a spotlight on Black entrepreneurs. They do have a program to provide loans and funding. You do have CIBC. CIBC recently launched their own Black loan fund. You have Futurepreneur as well that is doing amazing job, and Alternate Savings. Alternate Savings honestly has been doing this work before all of these loans, but they were always kind of pushing for more. And it's really after the whole pandemic and I will say the Black Lives Matter movement that people started turning also towards Alterna, but Alterna has been doing the work of supporting Black entrepreneurs. So I think those are, some of the insights that I will, say. And in terms of red flags, like you mentioned earlier, like invasive questions and stuff like that, we should probably just stay away from applications that are just like that, and then make sure to actually, kind of say, this is not okay, because otherwise they don't know. And I think remaining authentic. Sometimes we want to get funding, and so we try to make our application acceptable, but then you get stuck. As soon as you get that money, the return on investment and everything, then you get caught in crossfire because this is not necessarily what you wanted, right? So be authentic, and if it works with this loan request, perfect. If it doesn't, there's so many others. And I think that don't sleep on your community. I think the community can be, your biggest asset. It's really creating that buzz. It's really going there and then showing your product and service. So those are the insight and red flags that I will point out.
Thank you for that. That's really helpful. And I just looked at the time and I'm like, how is it 12:43? But here we are. So I'm going to remix this question. In one statement, looking back at your younger selves with the knowledge that you know now, is there anything you would have done differently? One statement, yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Do I have to provide my reasoning?
No, not at all.
No. Full stop. No.
Okay.
Same. I'll say no.
Oh, well, you would say no. I would say yes. I would say I would believe in myself. I would say that when people don't get your vision, don't let you think that you're not on the right track. It's just if you're imagining something that's not already there, not everyone can get on board. Or they're ready. They have to be educated and informed before they can see what you might already see.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would definitely say I would like yes as well. Like I would have told myself, you know, not to worry about competing with other people, just stay true to who you are as an individual and use your weaknesses and like your flaws and your shortcomings as advantages and see that as a part of your humanity that you can use, you know, to build connections with the various communities you're trying to connect with. So just honing in on who you are and trusting the process.
Yeah, I
Fantastic.
actually, can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miranda, I love that because what I've seen is that, and also Kelly, you touched on this about authenticity. When what I have found, the help has come when I've shown my vulnerability, when I don't have the answers, or even when I'm not in a good state and I've sought out services and help. That's when additional help has come for my business in surprising ways. So I really feel that we're told how to be in the society, what professional looks like, what we're told to conform in a lot of different ways. And I think now is the time, with all that's happened, pandemic, George Floyd, and a realization, Indigenous rights, all of these different things that are coming to the head, that it's time to be yourself and to find those people who actually receive and celebrate you and want to help you on your journey. If you're finding yourself associating with folks who are telling you that the way you are isn't good enough or isn't right, you need to find other folks.
Amazing. Amazing. Um, I'm actually going to come back to you, Althea, because I think, you know, you were redirecting into a topic that also relates to, you know, mental health. And, you know, when you look at social, you see a lot of posts about mental health. People are being comfortable talking about it. However, it's still a taboo topic in the Black community. How do you think we can reduce the stigma and encourage our people to seek help when needed? So when you talk about being your authentic self, I think it's difficult to do that when you don't have the support system. And you know, when you know you get statements like, you know, mental health doesn't matter, you just have to tough it out. Like, how do you think that, like, what advice will you give youths of the Black community or anyone from the Black community venturing out right now?
So you're touching on all of these points that we as people, in order to survive, have been told we have to be tough. We are tough. We manage to still continue to go when we meet barrier after barrier. And when we were told pre-COVID, pre-George Floyd, that it wasn't that important or that it wasn't real. And we kept on going. And in our, which is amazing. And I think as a result, that coupled with uninformed care in the health system, where they're not necessarily culturally appropriately trained, barriers to medical health care. I was reading that a lot of Black folks don't even have a primary care physician. When you go to the hospital, that a lot of times experiences that you are having are minimized. So how do we combat all these things? One, yes, social media is great. I'm not really a person on social media, but I have been hearing, talking to some younger folks, and Mary J. Blige wrote a song about therapy. We have athletes coming out about their mental health struggles. We have Jay-Z. We have all these different people who are stepping up and talking. That's the beginning, because the destigmatization, and I will say I live with mental health challenges, is one, coming out and saying, I can still do things. I just need other supports or understanding in my community. So I've made a commitment to come out about it, which is not easy. You're absolutely right. And sometimes I've been judged for it or underestimated because of it. That being said, we also need community-based education. So that means in the community centers, in Black businesses, we need to have spaces, we need funding. So government, if anyone's listening or anybody else, you need to put money towards this, and you need to talk to folks, Black folks in particular, saying, what do you need? And I can tell you, Women's Health and Women's Hands in Toronto has been a big part of support for me, because they offer for women of color, Black women, care. And they also offer providers who look like me. And it's a really safe space. So I think this is one thing. Recognizing also that vulnerability is strength. And that is really difficult, because we've been told, suck it up, you can't cry, you gotta be tough. Our ancestors did all these things to get forward. Come on, stand up tall, keep walking. But the fact is, if our ancestors had had someone say, you can rest, you deserve to rest, they would have rested. If they had had someone who had said, you need help, let me help you. So I think let's change that narrative of what strength is. Additionally, let's start to let people know what mental health looks like when you're in distress, or even before it becomes a crisis. There's a program called the Wellness Recovery Action Plan that helps you to learn what are your triggering points, what are your wellness tools, how to build on those tools. So I think community-based education, changing the narrative, more people coming out about their mental health, risking it, us letting go of this belittling folks who struggle, and recognizing that struggle and failure are part of risk and success. So you're doing your job if you're carving new paths and getting out there. And yeah, let's let go of this. Men don't cry. Black women are strong, and we can hold up everybody. We got to hold up ourselves. And that's something I invite all of us. It's time. We've been taught it's selfish to look at ourselves and take care of ourselves and put ourselves first. But we need to do this if we want to thrive, and also want to model what it looks like and build a stronger foundation where we can be our authentic selves.
Amazing. Yes, I love that answer. Love it.
Thank you.
When we look at Black culture, we see so much power, joy, richness, and creativity. Esmeralda, just tell us how culture has inspired you, and what is a cultural mantra that you live by?
Definitely. So for me personally, something that really inspires me, especially when it comes to the Black community, is seeing a lot of Black art, a lot of, Black creativity and just Black expression, coming more to the forefront during times of hardship, and even looking at like the pandemic, and then, all of us here sharing like so many great things that we started over the pandemic. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to take, a lot of, the resilience that's been forced on us, and using that to create like legacies and a lot of, opportunities for people within our communities just through that artistic expression. And when I look at so many artists who are defying the odds, especially when it comes to appearances, because a lot of times, the closer you are, to whiteness, you have like more opportunities, and there's more, like associations of success to the things you do. And the further you are away from that, a lot of times there's so many obstacles you have to overcome. So just being able to see more and more people who, look like myself, taking those steps towards being their authentic self, and challenging themselves and navigating all those different hurdles and obstacles really inspires me. And then in addition to that, when it comes to myself as an artist, personally, some of the things that like I live by, and I hinted to this a little bit earlier, is something I've read in a book. This book is basically called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And there's a statement in that book that says, don't compete, create. And during the pandemic, I really got into like a journey of like reading a lot of like self-help books and like motivating books, and like just books that like, center like, inspiration, and then Black women, and just doing a lot of like that inner work to ensure that I'm preserving my mind from like, all the toxicity that's, out there in society. And that's something that really stood out to me. Basically, don't compete, create. So being able to understand that you are unique, and what sets you apart from everyone else is being you. So being able to really fully believe that the flaws and the hardships and the struggles that you have add to the value that you can bring to society is something that I'm just constantly reminding myself of, so I can, show up who I am without fearing of being something that society doesn't expect me to be. So I would say that's something that really, is a mantra I live by.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yes. Stephanie, so being in the industry for as long as you have, how has DE&I evolved? What are some of the challenges, and what are some of the areas that need improving?
Ooh, okay. Well, yes, I have been here for a minute.
Also,
almost 10 years in the industry. Yeah. So thinking back almost a decade, working in my first agency, there was so much culture diversity. There was an intersection, which I feel like a lot of times we don't talk about. So there was Black folks, there was South Asian folks, there was East Asian folks, there were queer folks that spanned that whole gamut. So, I mean, when I worked there, I was like, oh, this is advertising, this is what it is. And then leaving that agency and being like, oh, this is still very cisgendered, homogenous males. Got it. So I think the way that it's evolved for sure, and what I see is like, instead of the conversations that folks like you and I and all these beautiful people on this panel look like, instead of us having this conversation in like a boardroom or in the hallway after a client was wild in a meeting, it's now a public conversation. It's now an industry conversation. It's like, now companies are putting up their diversity numbers and saying like, yeah, you're right, we haven't been doing it, but now we're trying to do it. It's moved from internal to external, for sure, the conversations. And now it's not just BIPOC people, it's our allies as well, and people that he had to correct along the way and are trying to do better. I love that for us, because to tap back and circle back to what Althea is talking about, like, it can't just be us doing the work, because we are not the problem at the end of the day. The problem didn't start with us. We're just dealing with the ramifications of the problem. And so I love this evolution. What I would love to see even more is more authentic people doing it, people not just being, because a lot of times they see it, it's performative, and it's like, it's what I said before, but how I started Black Taxi, it's a one-off. It's a campaign here, it's, oh, look, now they have visibly and recognizably Black people in their commercial, and yet you look at their leadership board and it's still the same. So I would love for it to be more authentic. I would love for it to be from the top down. I would love for it to be consistent, because we all love consistency. And I would love for more people like us to be incorporated in the external conversations. I love that you're doing the work, but like we've all said at one point or another, talk to us about what we need, because don't nobody know what we need better than us. So, and I'm happy to be a part of that conversation, but also don't rely on us, because we are Black all day, every day. We're trying to survive racial trauma the minute we step out of the luxury of our homes. So again, love the evolution, but there's so many different ways that it can help and that it can evolve. And I would just love to see it continue. I'd love for different industries to work together. I would love for different roles and different facets. I would love Black mental health to be, I would love a lot of things is what I'm getting at, clearly. But yeah, it's evolving. And I would like for it to continue to evolve. I don't want it to be this conversation that we're having because we're all locked in the house and we're in the house bored. I would love it once we're back in the world and we're allowed to hug each other and not wear a mask and be weird protesting and such, that this conversation continues. And this is something that systemically we're trying to change. This isn't a flash in the pan moment. Like systemically, we're trying to change this. It's the right thing to do. We have to look after each other. We all live in this world together. We've all contributed to the world together, whether it's good or bad. So systemically, we need to make these changes in order to continue the evolution.
Yes, I agree, 100%. And final question goes to Kelly. Given the historical and economical challenges faced by Black business owners, where do you see the evolution of Black entrepreneurship in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I think we're going to be thriving. I think we're going to be great in the next 5 to 10 years, because there is that, like we were mentioning at one point during this conversation, I think that the narrative has been disrupted. Folks are more getting out there and doing what they like. People are more vocal about what they want to create, like in terms of entrepreneurship and much more. So I think we'll definitely be thriving. I think my hope is really just that, and I know it's going to happen, solid businesses, right? When you look at the restaurant industry, it's like usually 2 to 3 years, and then it's like, well, we really have to close. But I know that with all the resources and the support from our community, I know that we can make it happen so that we have long-lasting businesses. My hope is to really see us, be sufficient, like, just if I want to go to a bakery, I have options to also go to, let's say, Delissa's bakery, for instance. Like, I want us to have our feet in each different industries, some that are not even tapped into, so that whenever the next time, I hope never, there is another situation where there is a case of racism, then we can also threaten with economy. We remove ourselves economically. We're just like, okay, well, you're not gonna get our money. Our money will remain in our community. It sounds a little bit drastic, but hey, I think the most powerful tool sometimes is really the dinero. My hope is really to see us thrive, and I know we will, because we're resilient. If there's one thing about us, is like we keep pushing. But as it was echoed during this conversation, I think it's also good to really take care of ourselves mentally and physically, just like also reset, work smarter, not harder. So that's what I can say about that.
Fantastic. And final question to everyone. What is next on the horizon for you? What's next? If it's confidential, you don't have to say it. But just let us know what you plan to do. Just give us some insights.
Okay, I'll go. I need to pivot again and to look at my list of what I want to do. I have a bunch of offerings, and I definitely want to bring them forth. I just want to figure out the most strategic way to do that. I'm presently in a digital skills course, and when that finishes, I'm hoping to launch Althea's Art Cards officially, along with Club Althea, and connecting with folks, taking care of my well-being. And I want to just circle back to being consulted. If you want to consult us, pay us. Don't just ask us for our input. Pay us for that, value it, please. This is a change. I know I have been talking about this for the last 30 years in different roles that I have. I wasn't paid extra for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now you've got this whole field of resources at your disposal, with lived experience of what it's like to be racialized, what it's like to exist and thrive or struggle. use it. And as you said, Kelly, money is a big resource. Yes, we need that resource.
Yes.
Totally agree with you on that, Althea. I was even going to add to that, like, there's so many, and a lot of times, even as like, with artists, so many times people want you to do things for exposure, like, okay, this is a cool opportunity. Why don't you do this for free? And it leads to you wanting to give up. There's so much burnout where you can't even sustain yourself, and you're trying to, but everyone's expecting you to do everything for free. And then on top of that, when you're a Black artist and a woman on top of that, the expectations a lot of time is for you to volunteer your time in every way, shape, and form, right? So, like with us as like Black women, and as a Black community, we really have to put our feet down and like stand up for what we're worth. And one thing I've been doing, and this has been my goal throughout this year, is immediately my first response is, what's your budget? And that's my, and I'm gonna tell, this is something that's like really like phenomenal for me. Like before, like whenever a company would ask me to do any type of collaboration on like social media, I would just like be a little bit hesitant to bring up money. But recently what happened, I actually got like contacted by a company, and they were like, oh, like Ex Miranda, we would want you to do this and that and that and that, no talk of money. And I'm like, nah, these people need to tell me how much like their budget is, right? And then after that, I didn't mention any number. I just said, okay, you guys want me to do all of this. Do you have a budget in mind? And once I said budget, they were like, okay, we can give you $20,000 to do this. But initially, their conversation was free. They were like, okay, can you do this and that and that? Once I mentioned budget, they said, okay, we can give you $20,000. And I was like, oh, shoot. So immediately I was like, yo, I need to always confront every organization and say, what's your budget? Because you never know how much money you're leaving on the table. And a lot of times that's the expectation, that you do work for free, right? And then on top of that as well, when it comes to like just, anyone doing any entrepreneurial venture, don't be afraid to ask what you're worth, right? Put your foot down and demand what you're worth, because people who actually appreciate you will get along with, what will bring, the best out of you, because nobody wants to be working in a space that isn't safe, and not paying you what you're worth means the environment isn't safe for you because you're not being valued. And then on the flip side, when it comes to things I'm working on, I'm dropping a new song on February 25th. So it's called Offering. So you can basically just, stream it when
Mark
it comes
calendars.
out. Yeah, so February 25th. So if you have like Apple Music, or like, Amazon or Spotify or whatever you use to stream your music, you can follow me on those different platforms, and you'll be able to get my latest song. And then follow me on TikTok or Instagram, whatever you use.
Amazing. And then Steph and Kelly, I just want to be conscious of time because we are over. So let us know what's on the horizon.
Kelly, you want to go first?
You go first.
All right. Well, Black Taxi has a few things coming down the pipeline that will be announced shortly. But I definitely want to plug that we will be announcing a call for our next cohort of interns. So if you're looking to break into the advertising industry, I don't care if you've gone to school. I don't care if you've worked at an advertising agency before. That is very much irrelevant to me. What I need to know is, do you have transferable skills? Are you ambitious? Are you ready to come in? And yes, you will be paid. I don't know if you joined late and missed my little blurb. You will absolutely be paid. Please hit me up. I'm going to drop the Black Taxi link in the chat, so you can go right to the website and apply. It's a separate email address. I'm on the email address. Head of HR, our talent person. Please apply. I'm also easy to find. I'm not at like Ex Miranda. I'm not TikTok savvy or anything, but I'm on the socials, kids. So find me where you can. But yes, Black Taxi has a lot of stuff dropping we're super excited about.
That's so exciting.
And Afropolitan, we have a lot of things coming up also this year. So we have the Women of Diversity Summit and Awards happening. It was supposed to happen March 5th, but it's happening May 7th. It's an in-person event this year. It's happening at the Toronto Reference Library. It's going to be huge. Great folks coming from across Canada, honestly. So I hope to see you all there. And we also have a new program dropping very soon. We'll be announcing very soon, and that is geared towards women. It's around mental health and physical activity. So that's all I can say, but I hope that people will join because we definitely need that kind of self-care, I should say. But yeah, follow us on Afropolitan Canada. We're on LinkedIn, we have a website, and then we're also on Instagram. So yeah, and thank you so much. You guys are so amazing. I am so appreciative of all of you, and thank you, Delissa.
Thank you. Steph, I think you sent the link to just the host and panelists. So if you want to send it to everyone.
Ooh, my bad.
That'll be amazing.
I told you I'm not up with the socials like Miranda. That's what I'm doing on here.
Well, now that we are, at time, over time is subjective. It's great. But I just want to thank Kelly, Stephanie, Althea, and Esmeralda for your time. Thank you for all that you do for our community, and thank you for our excellence, and most importantly, thank you for your honesty. This conversation has been very insightful and informative. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And we hope that everyone here provided some sort of insight that you can use in your next career path, personal path, in everything that you do. And I also want to thank Rise for facilitating this event. Have a good afternoon, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Delissa. Thank you, women. Awesome. Very
Thanks,
inspiring.
Been amazing. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.